did not know where we came from. My grandfather knew only his father, who died when my grandfather was a very young man. And so the past was kind of wiped away. We didn't even have a family Bible that gave the various generations and dates of birth, death, marriage. Didn't have anything. So there were a lot of rumors about the Bogues. Where did they come from? Some people thought they came from pirates. That wasn't true. So Kathy and I got into doing a lot of research, and a lot of it was done in Columbia at the Archives building. And back in those days, you had to go and get microfiche. And you had to have a microfiche reader. And you would sit down and you go through all this microfiche looking for your relative, that kind of thing. So there were a lot of deeds and marriage dates, and there was a lot of Civil War information on microfiche. So we spent a lot of time at the South Carolina Archives and the University of South Carolina Library. So we came up with quite an extensive amount of information that I want to go through quickly. In addition to the genealogy, there is DNA information now, where you can have your blood analyzed, and they can give you an idea about where you came from way back tens of thousands of years ago.
I saw a story where someone sent in their spit for their guinea pig, and it came back with their genealogy, and it was all fake. So
Okay, that's a good. That's okay.
Have you done extensive research on the company that you used for the blood sampling that you gave?
It's ANCESTRY.com.
I'm very nervous. I don't know.
Kathy subscribes to Ancestry.com. It's so if it's bad,
I think it was 23andMe that they did it with. So.
If it's bad data we're paying a lot of money for it because she subscribes.
I trust you. I just want to play devil's advocate.
And she subscribes because she's into genealogy.
Okay, good.
Okay, my ancestry is R1B. R1B. That is the major group of hunter-gatherers that came out of Russia.
Interesting.
About 10,000 years ago. And they migrated west to Western Europe. My people settled in the northwestern corner of Europe, the lowland part of Denmark, and the northwestern corner of Germany, and their name is Angle. That is the people who coalesced in that region. Their name is Angle. Okay. Just below is another grouping called Saxon. Now, they arrived as hunter-gatherers. Agriculture began. They became rudimentary farmers. They relied on hunting. And they were good at going to war. They were warriors. During the Roman Empire, the Roman historians referred to us as the barbarians. The barbarians of the north, they described the land where we lived as Germania. Germania. During the latter days of the Roman Empire, the legions were withdrawn from Britain, and that created a power vacuum. The Angles and the Saxons went across the North Sea and landed in Britain. The Angles landed on the east coast of Britain and worked inland, as far north as the lowlands of Scotland. And that's where my family settled, the Bogues. Now, the term Anglo-Saxon is from this invasion, the Angles and the Saxons, the largest group of Angles. The word England is in the origin is Angleland.
Oh,
Angleland
I didn't know that.
becomes England. The language, the English language, the root is not Roman, from Roman Latin, like a Romance language. French, Spanish, Italian, Romance languages. But the root of English is Germany. We go back to Germany. So it's a harsher language. And our last name is likely pronounced Bogue. Now it's kind of hard to get the spelling of that last syllable down. And so our name, the spelling of our name, changes quite a bit over time. Okay, so the Bogue family settles in the southeastern part of Scotland, near a little community called Duns. Kate has been there, and Marshall has been there. And there is an estate near Duns called Burnhouses. And Burnhouses is a collection of many farms, and you have an overseer. And the overseer is called a laird. Okay? So our family, over time, worked up with responsibility and service in both peace and war. And we were appointed by the King of Scotland to be the laird of Burnhouses. Now, it was our responsibility, the family's responsibility, to raise the tax. That was really what was going on. Farmers work hard, they grow the crops. The laird makes sure the king gets his tax every year. Then the laird takes a cut of what's grown, and then the farmer and his family gets what's left. And that's the system. Okay. We had a small manor house. We had servants. Similar to Downton Abbey, but on a much smaller scale. Much smaller scale. Now, in time of war, the laird was like a captain of militia, and he had all of these military age males own his property. And in time of war, they would be called up. They would bring their own weapons. They'd be marched off and assembled with the army of Scotland. And the way the army was formed up on the line of battle was on the right-hand side, they had the Highland Division, and that's where Gary's people were and all those wild people of the north. And then the more educated Scots, which were the lowlanders, we were on the left-hand side.
Good thing he's not up here.
We were on the Lowland Division, and in the middle would be the king, members of royalty, the nobility, and the leaders of the church. Now, we came over to Scotland as pagans. We were converted to Christianity by Roman Catholic priests. So at this time, our family, we were Roman Catholic, and then we have the Reformation. We become Presbyterian. So that's how the faith evolved over time in Scotland.
Could you explain the difference between Roman Catholic and Presbyterian?
What is the difference?
Yeah.
I'm not going into that here.
Does anyone know the short answer?
I'll tell you later.
Okay.
Yeah. The main thing is we don't come under the Pope.
Okay.
I mean, that's, okay. But the faith is very similar. The principles of the faith are very simple. We are Christian. We are Christian people. Now, the estate itself came under the law of primogeniture, whereby when the laird died, the eldest son became laird. He inherited everything, okay? Everything went to him. Now, the daughters, good luck in marrying well, okay?
Right, nice.
And the lesser sons, the younger sons, good luck on getting. William Bogue, and they're spelling it B-O-G at this point, B-O-G. He is penniless. And what he does is he decides to go to the New World. In those days, land was down. 1663, okay? 1663. And he went as an indentured servant. He had to work off 4 years of servitude at hard labor. 6 days a week he would work. Received poor food. At the end of his indenture, he inherited land. Now his land was across the James River from the Jamestown colony. Jamestown is the first permanent English colony in the New World. So we go back a long way. Jamestown was founded 1607. Our ancestor arrived 1663, right in there. Now, our ancestor is Scottish. The English, they don't like the Scots. They are like Untermensch. They're lesser people. So there's a lot of friction between the English and the Scots. The first missionary gets into the expanded Jamestown colony. They are Quakers from England. Our ancestry becomes Quaker, and we are Quaker for many generations. So we've gone from Presbyterian now to Quaker. The Quakers are considered to be nonconformists, troublemakers. The English wanted them out. Our immigrant ancestor is William. He dies in Virginia, Newport News. He dies there. His wife remarries a Quaker. Little William now has a stepfather. The family, along with all the other Quakers, are run out of Virginia because they're Quaker, okay? They cross over into the province of Carolina. They are of the first white people to clear land in North Carolina. The location is up at Hertford, and that's where the Bogue farm is, okay? Now, if you go to Hertford, you have an east-west road. You go east over a bridge. That's the Perquimans River. When you come down, that's Bogue land. Now, 1775 rolls around, and the American colonies are going to war. 1/3 of the population is for the Revolution. That's the third we know about. Another third fought for the king. We don't know too much about them. And then there was a third. Those were the ones that wouldn't fight at all. Those were the Quakers. Our people are Quakers. Okay? However, they took land, new land, in Wayne County. And when you came to New Bern, you drove through Goldsboro. Goldsboro is the county seat of Wayne County. The Bogue farm was in the northeastern corner of Wayne County, very close to a place called, but much of that land was not good land. It was low. It was next to the Contentney Creek. It flooded easily. You couldn't use it. A lot of the land was a forest. And so, for many generations, you had to fell trees, pull up the stumps, and after you'd done that for maybe 4 or 5 years, you had enough land, maybe the size of a football field, that you could plant a crop.
Jeez.
So it's hard, hard labor. The Civil War. The Civil War comes. Bogues are fairly prosperous as farmers. They have slaves. Not many, they have slaves. They could not maintain the discipline of the Quaker faith. Quakers, you mess up with the Quakers, you're in trouble. You mess up like twice, your name comes off the roll. You go out and find yourself another church. That happened to us. We became Methodists. Methodists, back in that day, was the great evangelical church. They would get to anybody who needed a pastor. They would figure out a way to get a circuit riding minister to you. So that little area where our farm was and neighbors, the Methodists got a circuit riding pastor to us. So we became Methodists. Grandfather. He volunteered for Confederate Army duty in the 15th North Carolina Troops Infantry. He was sent off to Northern Virginia, served under Robert E. Lee, fought the bloodiest day of the Civil War, which was at Sharpsburg, Maryland, the Battle of Antietam. The single bloodiest day in the history of the Army. He survived that. That was in 1862, September. 2 months later, he dies. Dies of pneumonia. Pneumonia. He leaves behind a small child never had an expert to look at it.
Mm-hmm.
A fellow from Japan came to Columbia, and he was a collector. And he was buying Japanese World War II artifacts, especially swords. He was buying swords, and he takes them back to Japan, sells them in Japan. And he can get top dollar, because there are a lot of Japanese people over there who've made a lot of money, and they want this stuff, part of their heritage.
All right.
And so I thought I would take my army sword, to this collector. And he was in a motel. And I called him up and he said, yeah, come on over, I want to see what you got. So I go over to the motel, and being a nut, as I am, I walked up to his motel door, and I knocked on his door, and I brought my sword back like this.
Oh my God.
Don't hit anything, okay? And I knocked on the door, and I said, Well, we had this big window with the curtain pulled, and the curtain went. Well, he opened the door. He opened the door, and I showed him what I had, and it has a. This is the identification, Shin Gunto, World War II, Type 98 Imperial Army. And it has a safety button. Here we go. It's right here. This is the safety button. You have to press that and pull it out. And he took this thing and pushed the button, and he brought it right out. And he flashed it up in the air like this, and like that. And he released this hilt, okay? And on the metal blade, in this part of the metal blade that's covered, you see, you have the original markings. And you read the original markings, you snap this thing back together again. And he returned it. And he gave it back to me. And he told me it was correct. Everything is correct. But he said he did not want it. He's looking for samurai. Samurai swords. Now, what they did in World War II, officers that were from samurai families, they would take the family sword and they would put an army hilt on it. So they carried the family samurai sword. That might be 400, 500, 600 years old.
Wow.
Now, that is worth as much as my house. If you have a samurai sword. I do not have a samurai sword. I have a standard army sword. This tapestry. I saw a photograph. I thought it was a painting. And this is
Right.
well, you might
That's what I remembered. Yeah, that's what I remembered.
This was his Iron Cross. He was a runner. He would go from headquarters to some other headquarters carrying a message from trench to trench during World War I. And he was wounded. He received the Iron Cross, and this is his wound badge. And he wore that all during his time as Chancellor and Fuhrer.
And that was made in Germany, or
This
Nazi
is
Germany?
Made in Germany, 1933. And that's when the party, now the brown shirt represents the Nazi party, political party, okay? National Socialists. He was elected Chancellor. And this was made to commemorate that event. So from 1933 on, he wears the gray shirt. That's the shirt of state.
I wonder how many people have.
Then Lenin came along and overthrew the Kerensky government. That's the Bolsheviks, okay? So from here down is Soviet orders and decorations. These are the highest medals right here. This is the Order of Glory. The Order of Glory. Bronze, silver, and gold. That is solid gold. Okay? When you receive Hero of the Soviet Union, this is an original World War II Hero of the Soviet Union. This is the same as the Congressional Medal of Honor in the United States. That is solid gold. Okay? When you receive this one, or that one, they are so high in order that you automatically receive the Order of Lenin, which is the highest order. Okay, these are medals. These are orders. This is an early order of Lenin. It has no ribbon, This is a later order. This is like in the middle of World War II. A ribbon is attached. So these are the big ones, right there. The biggest and the best. Everything else is various types of orders and decorations. These are civilian, okay? Civilian. And this medal and that medal are equivalent to each other. Everything else besides these is military. Well, now, if I did not have these, and I put the money into automobile, I could have probably the best Mercedes. You know, the value of these militaria